Thank you very much, councillors, members of senior staff, members of the press. I extend warm welcome to all of you, and I declare this very unique meeting, and I suppose historical meeting, the first meeting via video conference of Temora Shire Council, declare it open. And we are meeting via Blue Jeans technology, and this meeting is being recorded, will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information. All present today are reminded that while speaking that we agree that our views and comments are being recorded and published. We're also reminded that if or when we are speaking that we are of course respectful to others and using the appropriate language. And Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting, which of course does not happen. So in welcoming you all here and declaring the meeting open, I would ask Councillor Winkie if you would lead us in our opening prayer. Thank you very much, Councillor Winkie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing like being put on the spot. I appreciate that. Thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we do give you thanks that we can come together in these troubled times of our COVID situation in our country. And Lord, we do pray that you'll bless those in authority of our Prime Minister and all of our premiers and the staff that work with them to bring all this to an end, Lord, and that we may continue with our country in a manner that's safe and welcoming. Lord, we pray for those families that are suffering the COVID disease at the moment, and pray for good health for them. Pray for those who have lost loved ones in all of this, and Lord, we pray that you'll bless them too, their families, as they come to grips with what's happened in their families as well. Lord, we just pray that you'll bless this meeting tonight. We pray that, and thank you for the technology that we are able to use to continue our meetings, and that technology is something that is a blessing for all of us at this present time. So we thank you for that. We pray for all of our own people, our own town. We thank you that the care that we had this week is taken care of. We thank you for all of our health authorities who have taken control and offered testing, and that the testing at this stage has come back negative, and we thank you for that. So Lord, be with us today. Bless our meeting, and we pray, Lord, you'll bless all of our community. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Councillor Winkie, and I do appreciate that, and as do all of us assembled, because I only just realised that our Christian leaders' friends obviously would not be here. So thank you for those words of encouragement. Councillors, we move on to apologies, which I don't believe we have any. We have full team present. Well, I suppose, Mr. General Manager, we wouldn't include Councillor Smith as an apology, so no. Any declaration of any interest, please? None at this time. Let's go into confirmation of the July meeting of Temora Shire Council, please. Is someone prepared to... councillors, I would like you to please physically raise your hands if you wish to A, move a motion, or B, if you wish to speak. And I will obviously go to the first ones that I see. And so yeah, I just want to make that point. So if someone could please move the minutes of the August meeting be received as true and correct. Thank you, Councillor Slay. Councillor Winkie, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Any matters arising, Mr. General Manager, please?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor, we go on to the mayoral minute. And you'll have in your report Number one, I wish to formally acknowledge and pay tribute to a long-serving former councillor of Temora Shire, the late Frederick Albert Stanley Meal. Mr Meal, who was also a World War II veteran, was first elected to council at the September elections in 1991, with him being re-elected in every council until 2008. Mr Meal served on numerous council committees, including the Assets and Operations, Environmental, Riverina Regional Library, Home and Community Care, and many, many more. One committee of council Mr Meal immersed himself in was our Australia Day Council. Mr Meal was the long-serving chairman of that committee, leading the team who went on to win several state awards for their event. Mr Meal was also involved in numerous community organisations, particularly the Temora Rugby League Football Club. Mr Meal was a fierce debater and a man who had the courage of his convictions. What we all admire the most, however, is his deep affection for our Temora Shire community. The prayers and the thoughts of every councillor, our general manager, who I know particularly was close to Mr Meal, our directors, all of our staff members, together with our Shire community, our prayers remain with Mr Meal's family. We shall always remember Mr Meal's service to his community and to his country. Councillors, I know this is unusual, but I'd ask you to please rise in your places as we observe a moment's silence in honour of our departed former councillor, Mr Meal. Thank you very much. Number two, councillors, staff and our Temora Shire community are continuing to adapt to the current COVID lockdown, for which we are most thankful. We also reflect on the recent advice of an essential worker being in our community who tested positive to COVID. Council congratulates all involved with being on the front foot. I particularly thank Council staff, our State Member for Cootamundra, Ms Steph Cook, our Federal Member for Riverina, the Honourable Michael McCormack, Murrumbidgee Local Health District Chief Executive, Mrs Jill Ludford, the Temora District Hospital Manager, Mrs Wendy Skidmore, and every member of their respective teams. We're also encouraged to see the overwhelming number of residents who have come forward for their COVID test. Even those with the slightest symptoms have ensured they have done the right thing and have had a test. It is also pleasing to advise that staff of the three businesses involved with the recent COVID case have all tested negative to COVID. Council and the Shire community are strongly supportive of our businesses and their employees who are not deemed essential workers. Not having them open is obviously the right thing to do given our current public health orders. However, it certainly leaves a large part of our community's heartbeat missing. Thank you to those businesses that continue to operate. Council encourages the community to please continue supporting them as much as you can. Council are deeply grateful of how the Shire community are conducting themselves with love, consideration and strength, all under some challenging circumstances. We will come through this more resilient than ever before. Number three, Council will note the recent decision of the New South Wales Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Shelley Hancock MP, to again defer our council elections. New date is Saturday the 4th of December, However, this could change again if COVID remains a threat. I understand the New South Wales Electoral Commission have not ruled this out, and further, that a universal postal vote system could be initiated. This, of course, would require legislative amendments and additional funds. no doubt will be informed of any changes to the current election date. I wish to extend thanks to current councillors in Councillor McLaren, Councillor Reinhold and Councillor Slay. These three representatives had indicated their intention not to seek re-election. They have, however, indicated they will continue to serve in their roles until our next election. For this, Council and our Shire community say thank you. Finally, I encourage all councillors, staff and every citizen of Temora Shire to watch our very own Paralympian, Mr Scott Reardon, OAM. As the Tokyo Games have started this week, we very much look forward to watching our Rio gold medalist, Mr Reardon, compete in his T63 100-metre event. The heats will be screened on Channel 7 from Saturday the 29th of August at 10:41pm Australian Eastern Standard Time, with the final scheduled for Sunday the 30th of August at 9:33pm, which of course we hope and pray he makes. Mr Reardon, a past recipient of the Mayoral citation, knows that all of us here in Temora Shire wish he and his wife, Mrs Vanessa Reardon, all the very best in their respective competitions. We know they will do their very best and will also be outstanding ambassadors for not only Australia but also for the Temora and Coolamon Shires. Councillors, that is the Mayoral minute, and I move that that minute be noted. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, Councillor Judd, did you have any comments? Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I had the honour of serving alongside former Councillor Moyle while he was on council, and I agree with your comments. He certainly was a great advocate for the Temora Shire community and worked very hard. One thing that impressed me about Fred was that he was an ideas man, always thinking about what could be done or needed to be done in Temora. He quite often raised half a dozen different ideas for business. Some of these ideas weren't practical or doable, but always two or three ideas. Fellow councillors always. No.
Sorry, Councillor Judd, you're cutting out, sorry.
What?
You're cutting out very, very faint.
One campaign I'll never forget, campaign to save the old public toilets, Elegant Park. This was a controversial decision taken by council at the time, move the old toilets, Mason. Fred was right up against expecting the residents to make the long walk to the new toilets at the recreation centre. After he lost the debate, the toilets were removed. Fred took his campaign to the next Shire Council election. Campaign outside of Town Hall, a toilet roll and a stick. What happened then was that Fred topped the poll, and he still not could convince the new council to place the toilets. Fred continued this campaign even after leaving local government. Probably fitting that at least had a half win last year when council agreed for us to have temporary toilets and for Anzac Day and Remembrance Day at Callaghan Park. Now I pay tribute to Councillor Fred Mill.
Thank you very much, Councillor Judd. Pardon me. Does any other councillor or senior staff member wish to further discuss the motion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. So the motion carried. Thank you very much. So, councillors, let's go to your business paper. And it commences on page 11 of your white papers. The first committee that met is the Temora Traffic Committee for Temora Shire Council. Councillor Smith is the chairman, and I was also there, and Councillor Wink is an observer. So, councillors, you will note that there are those items as mentioned in that document, and someone prepared to move that the report is received, please. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Items out of that, I think Councillor Judd on page 12, report 3.1, the back area Park Road speed zone, with a recommendation from that committee had that the committee recommend the council to endorse the actions of the Engineering Services Manager and Transport for New South Wales Delegate. Councillor Judd, we just wanted to articulate what those actions were to capture that in the actual motion. Is that right, Councillor Judd?
Well, not clear what the actions of the Service Manager and Delegate were. Doesn't say in the report.
Yeah, very, very faint, Councillor Judd. The volume's very, very faint. So the Engineering Services Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I actually wasn't at this meeting. However, between us sending out the committee papers and the meeting happening, we got advice from RMS basically saying they weren't able to attend the meeting, and that they had reviewed this particular location again, and one said it wasn't a traffic committee agenda item, and two, that it did not meet the requirements to change the speed zone. And that's about it.
Thank you. So we just need to capture that. We just need to capture that somewhere in the report, please. So has the General Manager got that in hand?
You want it in the report?
Well, it needs to be somewhere within the, somewhere within the report, please. Okay, is there anything else in the Traffic Committee, please?
Mr. Mayor, I would like, if that's the case, I'd express my strong objection to the report.
Oh, okay. So so effectively you're not happy with the actions.
Sure what the action is. Nothing.
Beg your pardon?
Just define what the action is.
Well, we just heard from the engineer.
Can you repeat it, please?
The engineer, can you please just repeat the actions, and if we can all speak loudly and clearly, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Councillor Judd,
basically,
can you hear him? Councillor Judd,
Yes.
can you hear the engineer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The engineer.
yeah, so basically, between the issue of the papers and the committee meeting happening, we got an email from Transport for New South Wales saying that they couldn't attend the meeting. One, number two, that the committee couldn't decide on whether or not the speed zone would be changed, which we know anyway. And number three, that they'd reviewed that the Transport for New South Wales had reviewed the location and declined or said that it did not meet the required criteria to have a speed zone change.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councillor Judd, do you have a response?
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought he said. Not agreeing with it. So,
Yeah.
so can I take councillors to page 15 in the diagram, the aerial view?
Page 15, yep.
Put it on the side, and you see the silos there that belong to Chalmers.
Yep.
Yes, next to the road. Halfway along, that's where the present 50k sign is. 50k sign is, right?
Yep.
Now, if you go back to your right, to the east, you see the curve in the road, and when traffic's coming down from the east, they're in a 100k zone. We have a lot of people, and I've saw people this morning walking up that road for a walk. And when you're coming from the east, trees on the curve and blocks your view of what's happening around near the Chalmers silos, right? And our community, and I'm especially myself, is really worried about speed coming down there and hitting people it's actually in the 100k zone. We really need to do something about it.
Right. Well, Councillor Judd, in relation to 3.1, if you wish to move a motion that would supersede the recommendation, Council will consider it if there's a seconder.
Well, I'll move that Council ask the Traffic Committee or RMS or to reconsider it, do it, and really come and have an on-site inspection. Not to really see the dangers of Mason. I'll move that way, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Judd. So you're moving that the Temora Shire Council's Traffic Committee meet on site at the with the Area Park Advisory Committee representatives.
Yes.
In the area concerned on the back Area Park Road.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion, please? I can't see all councillors.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Slay. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? That's just in relation to 3.1 on page 12.
There is one point, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Slay.
I don't know that in Councillor Judd's motion it made it clear. I think, Councillor Judd, that you wanted somebody from either from Traffic New South Wales or the appropriate government department. Was that right? You wanted them there?
They're all involved, Councillor Slay, on the Traffic Committee.
Met by deafening silence.
Sorry, yes, they're members of the Temora Traffic Committee.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, they are. Yeah, my misunderstanding. In that case, it's fine. I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Slay. Is there further discussion? Councillors, and the General Manager's come in so I could see everybody as opposed to the business paper. I have the business paper in front. So we just have to be patient again with the resolutions, the Executive Assistant typing that up. So does the Executive Assistant have that motion typed up? Is that typed up,
on the
that
area
motion?
of concern at back Area Park Road.
Yes.
Thank you. So moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion, please? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Be the motion carried. Thank you. The remainder of the Traffic Committee report and its recommendations. Someone prepared to move that we adopt the remainder of the Traffic Committee report and its recommendations, please. The Deputy Mayor, thank you. Councillor Winky moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, let's go over to page 28, the Access and Equity Committee's meeting, and I'm not sure who was the chairman of that of that committee? Who's the chairman of the Access and Equity Committee, please?
It's the Director of Environmental Services.
Oh, thank you. The director.
Yeah, thank you. As written, Mr. Mayor, there was a third meeting from that.
Thank you. Someone move that. That the reports received. Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Oliver moved and seconded. All those in that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Does the Director of Environmental Services, as the chairman of that committee, wish to highlight any particular items?
Nothing particular, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I think the General Manager, I think you had something that you wanted to draw to our attention in relation to page 42, the recommendation in relation to 3.9, the pool memberships. I know one that I wanted to mention is that, certainly the recommendation there about writing to school principals, community centre and doctors. I also think community, the Temora Christian Leaders group, or at least the clergy, because let's be frank, they have people from all walks of life asking them for help at various times, and I think they very much need to be included in that list. The General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Basically, all I wanted to include there was that the terms of reference, which were discussed on page 35, will need to reflect those delegations to that committee. If there's an amount given or a delegation given to a group, whoever that may be, to make that decision, it needs to be included in the Access and Equity Committee delegations. That's the only point I'd like to make.
Well, I have concerns, though, if Mr. General Manager, if there's the other, the non-council or staff members of that committee. I wonder, in terms of, potential community interests, et cetera, where that would sit.
I think potentially, Mr. Mayor, by giving delegations to a group of community committee may well put them in a situation that would be difficult from a pecuniary interest point of view, particularly those people who aren't used to working with pecuniary interest provisions. Maybe a consideration could be given to a committee made up of the council representatives rather than the whole committee, just to consider those applications.
Yeah.
We also have Councillor Smith has joined us now.
Thank you. Welcome, Councillor Smith.
There you
You on the channel? You're right.
I'm ready to roll.
Excellent. Councillor Smith, we're on page, well, at the moment we're on the Access and Equity Committee report, and we're looking at page 42, the recommendation that's being considered. So I'm now going to go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the general idea was for this funding to operate in a similar way to the Heritage Committee funding. I do take the General Manager's point about community input, but I imagine the same concerns would be raised for delegating to that committee to make funding decisions as well. But happy to have any, tightening of those things if it's required.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Probably in this regard, this is a bit more personal, I think, compared to the Heritage Committee. We're talking about people's incomes and so forth. So I think instead of having an executive committee, it could have just staff and councillors on the committee decide on applications. And further in point 1, where it says, school principals, community care and doctors seeking nominations, maybe it's better off, rather than seeking nominations, might be seeking referrals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so verbal referrals, Mr. Deputy Mayor, is what you're suggesting, as opposed to formal written.
Yes. Yeah.
Given the sensitive issues, I suppose that's because it could be a bit overwhelming, I suppose, for an individual. Anyway, thank you, councillors. Now we're just talking about report 3.9 on pages 41, 42. Any other schools of thought? If not, I'm in your hands in relation to the 3.9. We can just deal with that one if that's the only one of concern. Deputy Mayor?
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the recommendation there, but change in number 1 nominations to referrals, and in number 4, rather than executive meet to decide on applications, it's the staff and councillors on the committee that make the recommendations.
Thank you. So you don't want to include the members of the clergy as well?
Oh, well, yes, okay. You can put that in number 1. Yep.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the Deputy Mayor's motion, please? Councillor Oliver.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second that, if I could, please.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver, seconded the motion. If there's further discussion on just motion in relation to 3.9 on the Access and Equity Committee. There's no further discussion. I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 On the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. And now the remainder of the Access and Equity Committee report and its recommendations. Someone prepared to move their adoption or an alternate? Councillor McLaren? You'll move the adoption of the remainder of the report and its recommendations. Second, Councillor Winkie. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 47, the Economic Development Visitations Committee report. I was the chairman. Is someone prepared to move that the report be received, please?
Move.
Councillor Judd, thank you. Councillor Smith, second. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 No. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. So, Councillor Smith, if at all possible, if you'd like to speak or move or second a motion, if you raise your hand, and we'll do our best. But if you're thinking that I'm missing you all the time, you better holler. But so thank you for that. Pardon me, councillors. Any items in the report from the Economic Development Committee? If not, is someone prepared to move the report and its recommendations, please? Thank you. Councillor Oliver has moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Winkie. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 65, the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee report, and Councillor Winkie is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the report be received.
Thank you. Councillor Winkie has moved that the report is received. Is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
No. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Winkie, do you have anything you wish to highlight at all as the chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, look, it's only the one report that came in, and it was a supported accommodation residential tenancy policy draft. I'll leave it to discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winkie. Councillors, any further comment? If not, now those changes, Madam Director of Administration and Finance, the changes that, as the recommendation has, that endorse the policy, including the noted changes. Now, they've obviously been put in, but are not highlighted in a different colour.
No, they haven't been. This is just the draft in here, so no, the changes aren't included. This is the original version that went to the Assets and Ops meeting. So do
we have a list though of those changes?
So, I have noted them in my papers. I haven't updated the actual document yet. Sorry.
So can you please just perhaps remind councillors of that? Thank you. If that's convenient.
So in on page 3 of the policy, the identifying potential tenants, under the Temora Shire Council identifies potential tenants via the last dot point. So it mentions hospitals, rehab centres and aged care providers. And there was also a request to add and other relevant institutions. On page 5 of the document, under the heading of Temora Shire Council's right to end a residential tenancy agreement, third line down there, at the NDI support coordinator, and it would say, and a tenancy review panel will consider whether the tenant requires additional supports, etc. And they were the two changes that were mentioned in the meeting on the day.
Thank you very much. So are all councillors clear on those two additions, please? Yep. Or recommended additions, I beg your pardon. Thank you very much, Madam Director. So councillors, is someone then prepared to move the Assets and Operations Committee report and its recommendations? Thank you, Councillor Winkie. Councillor Reinhold, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. 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 The contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much for that. Councillors, let's go over to page 79, the Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre Partnership Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the chairman.
Can I just declare interest, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. The Director of Environmental Services declared his pecuniary interest and has vacated the video conference. The Deputy Mayor.
That's probably a point of me too. With my son being a board member of FarmLink.
Oh yes.
Should I be declaring
You're declaring an interest.
Yeah. I think it's probably best I do.
The Economic Development Manager, I would assume, as well.
Yeah. Okay, I'll leave.
Thank you. You'll leave the.
I'll do the same.
So, if our Executive Assistant has recorded those, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, the Director of Environmental Services and the Manager of Economic Development have all declared an interest in relation to the Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre Partnership meeting. So, Councillor Winkie, would you like to move the reports received?
Yes, I'll so move. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, have you got any comments or questions in relation to the TIAC Partnership Committee report? I go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was unable to attend this meeting, but I just wanted to comment on the great report that FarmLink have prepared regarding the maintenance requirements out there. I do agree there are some upgrades that need doing. I'm also very pleased to see that they're going to set some medium and long-term maintenance goals to prioritise when the timeline for each of them. Some of them are obviously more expensive than others, but I think with our capital contribution each year that these things will be ticked off over time. So, yeah, I thought it was a very pleasing report.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. I think I see lots of nods around the gallery. I'm really struggling. So thank you, Councillor McLaren, for that. Councillors, any other comments or thoughts in relation to the TIAC? Councillor Winky, can you perhaps share some of your reflections?
Just to make sure the council is aware that there's $20,000 each year allocated for maintenance out there. So in some instances, so that's why there's been a priority set for maintenance jobs, so that if we happen to get down to the end of the $20,000, well, it'll have to wait till the next financial year for the others to happen. So there's so we've gone through that and itemised which was the ones that needed to be sort of looked at first, and we'll just see how finances go as we go along. And of course, if there's any money left over, it gets carried over to the next year.
Thank you very much, Councillor Winky. So essentially, that 20,000 is ring fenced specifically for the purposes of the R&M at the Innovation Centre.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you. By the same token, I suppose it could be said that if there was a job that, say, costs, say, 30 grand, that could be carried out in that particular year, and then only 10 for the next year. Is that how it would work also, or not?
I defer to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Through you, Mr Mayor. So I would expect that they would not go into overdraft, basically. You know, if they only spent 10,000 for a couple of years, then they could, if there was 30,000 accumulated, they could do it that way. I wouldn't like to think they'd go into overdraft. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Winky.
Yeah, and I'd probably suggest too that if there was something important that would have to happen, it'd have to come back to a meeting first for full council to sort of approve that extra funding and see if it was capable of carrying it over. So it'd be something that would be dealt with at the time.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So, councillors, you have that very good report and its recommendations of the Partnership Committee, their inaugural meeting. Is someone prepared to move the report and its recommendations? Councillor Oliver, Councillor Winky, moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Where's Councillor Oh, there he is. There's no further discussion. I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Who's going to go out and get Graham and Chris? And,
thank you.
That's usually my job.
Oh, Graham, I'll go and fetch. Mr. Deputy Mayor, you may go into your committee room.
I'm back.
Welcome back. See why you leave phones away out of meeting rooms? I just, golly. Thank you very much. During your temporary absence, the council have adopted the recommendations contained in the TIAC Partnership Committee meeting report and were warmly impressed with what they have read and the vision that is in place. So thank you very much for that. Now, Councillors, let's go to page 93, Delegates reports. And do we have any Delegates reports, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, we had a Goldfields board meeting on Tuesday. Just the information that the Mandamar scheme is all but finished, way ahead of, way under budget and 6 months ahead of schedule. Tony Goodyear's can't stop skying about it. But they're just in the process now of getting things sorted to start on the Tenants Road renewal pipeline. So it's the next project, local project anyway. It's going to be tackled by Goldfields.
Wow. Well, Councillor Smith will be having kittens.
Yeah.
That's very good. Thank you.
They do have a stage 4 that they're working on at the moment with the snaring scheme. That is all but finished, so the rest of the main scheme has been finished, I think. That's the way I understand anyway.
Thank you very much for that update, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Any other delegates' reports, councillors? Fairly minimal at this, during these COVID times, of course. Just, councillors, let you know that REROC board were supposed to meet, well, today and tomorrow in Parliament House in Canberra. That's now been deferred till the 27th, 28th of October at Parliament House in Canberra. It's scheduled, shall we say. So let's see how we go there. And also we're currently working on a new agreement for our Chief Executive Officer, Mrs. Julie Briggs, and her management company. So that's something that is being done, and at this point she's just looking for these the 1-year contracts and review it each year, and we're trying to work hard on that front. So we'll keep you updated in relation to that. No further delegates' reports.
Oh, just one for me, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Reinhold.
Oh, I just wanted to plug the TBEG Business Awards.
Yes.
It was a really good night, and the grand finale with Sue and John Wiley being presented with the David Carruthers Lifetime Achievement in Business Award. Yes, and you were there, Mr. Mayor, so if you want to say a few words, but yeah, they do a really good job, and just wanted to give them a plug.
Well done, and thank you very much, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Reinhold, sorry, we've been doing it here, golly. Councillor Reinhold, you're right. It was a very enjoyable night, and just amazing how much even being together meant, and I suppose how we can take for granted those gatherings of community coming together. And I must say, even though the layout was a little new to me, but it was certainly had a very warm vibe, and we all commended and congratulated yourself, and I think the Director of Environmental Services, who's also on the Executive Committee of TBEG. Well done to you all on the awards night, and conducting it in that COVID-safe way. Well done to all the winners, the runners-up, and all those that were nominated. And thank you for giving me the honour to present that Lifetime Achievement Award, the beautiful award in honour of the late David Carruthers, a former Director of Intersales. Just a very special privilege to do that, and Mr. and Mrs. Wiley and their family, friends and staff, past and present, I know, just so proud of them. So again, thank you and well done to all involved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Reinhold. Further delegates' reports, please. Not. If not, we go into page 94, the Mayor's report for the month of July, and the recommendation on page 97 that the Mayor's report be noted. Councillor Smith, Councillor Oliver moved and seconded. Yep. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you. A motion, please. Councillors receiving staff reports. Councillor Judd, the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Pardon me, councillors, we go over to page 99, the General Manager's report, 10.1, calendar of events. The General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are a few changes to this, councillors, which are necessary because of the current circumstances. The first one is just to note that the meeting tomorrow, REROC and RIVJO, of course, is a Zoom meeting. The committee meeting days, which is set down for the 7th of September, is looking very, very unlikely at this stage, given the extension of the lockdown provisions. I think with your concurrence, we may leave that in abeyance and have meetings by electronic means dependent on requirements. If there's something urgent, we can do that. If there's not, we'll probably hold them over until the council meeting or the following month if necessary. The council meeting, which is listed for the 28th, that's the resolution of council currently, given the fact that there was to be an election in September. Of course, that has now changed, and the recommendation, which is in a report coming up later on, is that we revert back to the standard council meeting date, which is the 16th of September. So with those changes, and the only other issue is that which we need to talk about is the issue of the plan of management for the arts precinct or arts centre. That would have normally come to the committee meetings in September. Because we need to have that finalised pretty well by the end of September, because that'll be occupied from the 1st of November, and we need to talk to the stakeholders in the meantime. So the suggestion has been made that we hold a workshop toward the end of September to get that out of the way. And I'd like your views on that. One suggested date was the 20th of September, Monday the 20th. But again, I'll leave that up to council.
Thank you. So, councillors, first of all, do you agree with the view of holding a workshop? There's, as the General Manager's advised, there's a lot of detail in that document. The management plan for the Temora Arts Precinct, Arts and Cultural Precinct, whatever the name is. So you're happy to have, with the principle of having a workshop? Yep. Tease that out properly. Okay, thank you. So the second question is that Monday the 20th of September at 3 o'clock suitable? And Mr. General Manager, hopefully, God willing, by then the current lockdown would be lifted and we could meet with the workshop in person.
Yes, I hope so, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, I'm optimistic, but I hope so.
Yeah, well, I'm optimistic that could happen. So, councillors, are you happy with that if we lock that in, the council event?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Right. So, with those amendments, particularly our committee day, council, as long as you're happy that unless there's urgent pressing business, that the reports are just referred to the September council meeting. Okay, so is someone then prepared to move the recommendation that we note the report and those additions and amendments? Thank you, Councillor Slade. Sort of see your thumb. I can see your thumb.
Oh, is that right?
Well, I'm hoping it's a thumb.
We'll change position, Sean.
The Councillor Slay has moved the recommendation. Seconder, please. Councillor Smith, thank you. I'm blocking Councillor Smith's hand. My head. Anyway, moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 No.
The clarification, please, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Slay.
The General Manager said with the change to the current lockdown provisions, does that mean there has been an extension that I've missed out on?
Yeah, the extension has been for 2 weeks announced by the Premier today and finishes on Friday the 10th of December. September. The 10th of September at 12:01 a.m. At this point. So I listened to the press conference.
Another 2 weeks of what we've just had 2 weeks of.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I just missed it somehow.
Thank you. So if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Page 100, 10.2, the seals for the month of August. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As written, there are 4 seals to be affixed.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver, the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. Councillor Smith, can I ask you to use your other hand because I'm in the corner of my screen. Yeah, that one, please, when you wish to. Yeah, thank you. So, Councillor Oliver, the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Councillors, I've just received a message that today there was 100 COVID tests at the Temora Memorial Town Hall. I haven't got the figures yet for Area Park, but for Temora to receive, 320 yesterday, as you know, and another 100 today, plus what Area Park has done, I think that shows we've got a very, very, very very caring community, I think, as far as we're concerned. So that's, for your information, I think that's a record that the Chief Executive, Mrs. Ludford, advised last night that 320 was a fantastic result for, a community in Murrumbidgee outside Wagga Wagga. So I thought that was positive. Thank you. Let's go to page 101, 10.3, Council meeting dates, December, January. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the report, councillors, I alluded to earlier. With the change in date, we need to reassess where we're at in terms of the council meetings and events that are occurring in that time. You will note there that, as you're aware, the election has been deferred until the 4th of December. So the council will go into a caretaker period commencing on the 5th of November. But these are the issues we need to be determined now. So the first one is that at the moment we've currently got our meeting set for the 28th of September, suggesting very strongly that we move back to the 3rd Thursday of the month, which is in our code of meeting practice, which will be the 16th of December. The second part is there's no need to hold a mayoral election. They've decided that the mayor will continue on with the role until the first meeting after until the election. There's a bit of dispute about that because the mayor, we don't have a mayor between the election and the first council meeting. But I've said there that this leaves the issue of the committees and delegates. My suggestion is that, given that we're talking about a 3-month time frame, we're probably better just leaving the delegates as is and then reconsider them again in January, but that's a decision point for council. And the last one is the mayoral election. Where is it? suggested that the council meeting in January be held on the second Thursday. We can't really hold it beforehand because of the election will be declared, they say, between the 21st and 23rd. To be honest with you, I find it hard to believe that's going to occur, given the fact that the postal votes don't close until the 17th. So we've got a situation where really the counting can't be completed or can't really even be started as such. Only the core first preference votes for on the day or in pre-poll can't be done until the 17th. And then they've got, in our case, 4 councils that have to be counted in effectively 6 days. Whether that will happen or not, I'm not altogether sure. The other thing is it's a different counting mechanism. So whereas in the past it dropped off, now they count right through. Every vote gets counted every time because of the new system they have. So I imagine that will slow down the count even more. So it's highly unlikely that it's, in my view anyway, that all of them will be finished by the 23rd. But even if they are finished by the 23rd, there's quite a lot to be done in the interim. It's probably not fair on people to have training and whatever between Christmas and New Year. So what I'm suggesting is that training be in the first week in January, which will allow us then to have a council meeting in the second week in January. And at that stage, we go through the normal process of elections, the taking of the oath, and all the rest of it. So that's my suggestion. I guess the 3 points to be made, or 3 decision points at this stage, are the moving of the September meeting back to its normal date, the extension of the committees and delegates to January from September, and the meeting date in January being the 13th of January, which is really, I think, the earliest we can do it with confidence.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. But I would have thought there'd be a fourth one about the training, or did you want to? Oh,
the training day. Yeah, well, that's there's probably not a lot of flexibility in that because it's really got to be done before the first meeting. If we're talking about not having it between Christmas and New Year, which I think most people would consider a bit unreasonable to have it in that period, particularly for a couple of days right in the middle of holidays, and if we have it so it's really got to be in the first week, and the only time in that week that the consultant is available is that 5th and 6th of January.
Thank you. But effectively, you would see there's four decision points, though.
Well, there are, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So, councillors are in your hand. I have to tell you, the General Manager did touch on the communities will be left without an acting mayor. As previous practice was that the mayor continues until a successor is elected in their stead between elections, and I just find it amazing. And look, LGNSW have taken this up, of course. Country mayors, Riverina JO board, REROC board, and no doubt many others. Actually, the JO Chairman's Network, and saying to the minister, well, we wouldn't be without a premier or a prime minister. During those times, there's always someone acting in that role, and it just seems a bit of a slap in the face for communities, is the feeling across the state. So, but anyway, the minister, they've indicated that they're not for moving and changing their mind, so it is what it is. So the General Manager will have full delegated authority, God help us, during those intervening the intervening period. So we better keep an eye on the budget, Madam Director.
I think the only, Mr. Mayor, the only issue around that time is that's sort of peak bushfire season, and hopefully it doesn't happen. But if we do have bushfires or something in that time, I think, it's the time when you need community leadership. And, to not have a mayor around in a rural area during the peak of bushfire season, I think is ridiculous. And as I said, as you said, sorry, it wouldn't happen in any other level of government.
No, I just find, but even COVID, councillors and staff, even COVID, you've all got networks where, people are looking to all of us for encouragement, for hope, for support in different ways. And, anyway, it is what it is, and we couldn't have argued any stronger and for it. But so, councillors, you've heard from the General Manager about those four items, so we're in your hands. Someone prepared to move, the Deputy Mayor?
Just one thing first. General Manager said that the committee members would go through to the start of next year. It'd be only up to the election time, wouldn't it?
Election, yeah.
I'll move the recommendations as the General Manager pointed out.
So you'll move, Mr Deputy Mayor, that the September meeting will go back to the usual third Thursday, being the 16th of September, is number one. Number two, that the council committees and delegations be extended until the council elections. And three, that the first meeting of the new council be held on the second Thursday of January, which would be the 13th of January 2022. And lastly, that the councillor induction and training would take place during the first week of January.
5th and 6th.
Oh, where's that?
It's not there.
It's not there. The General Manager did. So the only days that are available.
Oh, sorry, right. So the 5th and 6th, what days are they?
Monday and Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday, is it?
Well, hang on, right?
Tuesday, Wednesday.
At the time of writing or the report, Mr Mayor, the dates weren't known. We knew it was going to be the first week, but we weren't sure of the actual day.
Yeah. It's actually Wednesday, Thursday.
So we've had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. So the actual, it is Wednesday, Thursday.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
We got the, so the Deputy Mayor has moved that way. Councillor Judd, you're seconding? Yep. So Councillor Judd seconded the motion. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Now, over to page 102, 10.4, the Operational Plan End of Year Report, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is as provided. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Councillors, any comments or any questions in relation to the Operational Plan End of Year Report? Been a heck of a lot achieved when you up and have a look, see. It's a credit to everyone involved. Councillor Clapp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question. I note that the Heavy Vehicle Alternate Route report was submitted in June this year. I just wondered, is that a workshop item for the future, or how's that progressing?
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. I understood that we're waiting on some further information on from Transport for New South Wales, and when that information was coming, that Council were going to workshop that at an appropriate time. The engineer?
Yeah, that's correct. Basically, they asked us for feedback on any technical aspects of the information they provided, of which we did that, and then they were going to furnish us with I guess like a final design report, and we'd be right to consider from there, which we haven't received that yet, but I only responded to them about a week or so ago.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor McLaren. Let's further items that you wish to draw to Council's attention. Councillor Reinhold.
Oh, look, I was just wondering about the Narrabri News being in the paper, how that's being
received,
accepted by the community. If we've had any feedback?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Reinhold. So, has any council or staff member received? I've only received positives personally. I didn't know how it would go, but I've received positives. But I don't know others. Comments.
I could make a comment on the survey that's we've currently got out, and people. I've seen a few negative comments about it, and a few positives. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over as we get more and more surveys back in. But there certainly have been some negative comments.
There you go. Other views, Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, just going on what I've had back into as well. It's probably about 2/3 in favour, 1/3 against. But the ones in favour are really, really positive about it. They think it's a fantastic idea. So I thought that was really positive note. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what 100% of what I haven't had one negative, but obviously there's some out there. So yes. So
Mr. Mayor.
The General Manager.
Yeah, I received one today who made the comment, and this was pretty typical, that they send the paper to their children or whatever after they finish reading it, and they generally like to keep things like the town hall theatre programs and stuff like that, and they can't do that now that they've handed it on. So that was the negative side that was coming back.
Wow. Well, I think maybe the kids could go and spend $1.50 and buy one of their own. Thank you.
If I can.
Councillor Judd.
My comment is that the new presentation...
Sorry, Councillor Judd, we're struggling to hear you.
My comment is that present in the paper doesn't grab you at all.
Sorry?
It's very defined. Compare that to what Wagga's doing in the Wagga paper or other papers. Their council news, they seem to have more colour in the print, more defined. Seems to be, I'd only like to see whether it could be explored, whether we get a better printing or better colour in the 2 pages.
Right. Thank you. I don't know whether everyone heard, I turned Councillor Judd right up volume. So I don't know whether...
I've only got one red bar at the moment.
Uh-oh. One red bar Councillor Judd has. Right. So anyway, I'm sure General Manager of the environmental, the economic development manager has taken those views, comments on board.
I have, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I can, if you don't mind, I can just advise councillors that we've had 61 people sign up to receive the electronic version via email of the Narrabri News.
Oh, thank you. That's good for us to know. Thank you very much. Councillors, any other comments or questions in relation to the end of year report? If not, is Is someone prepared to move the General Manager?
Just to mention, Mr Mayor, that's the end-of-year report on the operational plan. There'll also be an end-of-term report, which is being prepared, would go to the last meeting of this council. If councillors could note, I have sent around a message that I'd like a one-paragraph sort of summation of to be included in that from each councillor, if just to mention it at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager, and thank you for the General Manager mentioned this to me, I think, early in the week, and showed another council where it actually had, because there's always the Mayor's forward, but then there was this page of councillors' reflections on their term, and it just had, councillors' reflections and then their picture and their name, and then I think, 50, 60 words, 70 words, whatever. And we just thought it was so impressive, this particular document, and that's why we thought we should adopt it here. So if you can get those in, I think you've given them, a week or two, Mr. General Manager?
Ideally by the end of the month, Mr Mayor, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors, if there's nothing further, would someone care to move that the recommendation be adopted, that being that we note the operational plan end of year report? Councillor Smith, thank you. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Reinhardt. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. And again, well done to all involved, because honestly, when I said earlier that it makes you realise what the heck's been achieved in, it's unreal. So well done to every single individual involved. Let's go to page 181, Council's 10.5, Local Government New South Wales Conference, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, councillors, obviously we're not the only one affected by COVID and the lockdown changes. The Local Government New South Wales annual conference has had a fair change, and what they've done to try and overcome that is to split it into two. Firstly, the first part being a 1 hour conference just to present the annual report and the financial statements, and that's on the 29th of November 21, and that will be a Zoom meeting or an electronic meeting. And then there will be a special conference held next year on the 28th of February to the 2nd of March, which will deal with motions and other issues that would normally be at a conference. So it's just for information. But if there are any motions to be presented to that conference, it's a matter of running them through council, and we will get those to the Local Government New South Wales.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. So this will give this current council an opportunity to submit motions if there are any, and also the new council as well, or yep. Not the new council. In terms of the timing, I'm just not sure. Mr. General Manager?
Well, it's primarily for the existing council. I've no doubt if there was some burning issue, it could be put up as a late motion, but at this stage it's for this council to add motions.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have at this time, and just remember, what is the deadline, Mr. General Manager, for motions conference, please? Are we aware of a date or...?
I'm not aware of a date as yet, Mr. Mayor. Thank
you. So, councillors, my point is, if there's nothing currently that I would have thought that you would have at least the September meeting as well. Anything? Notice the motions for conference at this point. If not. Someone move that we note the report 10.5 on page 181. Councillor Oliver, thank you. Seconder, please. the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, no. The motion carried. Thank you. Now, page 182, the engineering... Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Nothing of an urgent late nature from the General Manager?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, 182, Engineering Services Report. 11.1, Bob Aldridge Parking, the engineer.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Council recently received a request regarding parking at Bob Aldridge on sporting weekends. Apparently it's quite difficult to get a park, and the way the parks are lined between trees doesn't optimise or make most of the space. So yeah, we've put a report in for Council's consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councillors, the Deputy Mayor.
Mr Mayor, I get around there occasionally with grandkids playing football and so forth. I don't remember seeing any great issues there, but most people are pretty responsible with their parking. It does get very busy. There's a lot of cars parked up side streets and so forth, so they do need certainly every car park. For the cost of it, I don't think it's warranted. The only thing that's maybe worthwhile is a couple of disabled parks. I don't know just how necessary they are either, but they could be something that maybe a bit of a halfway position with them, perhaps.
Thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. That's appreciate those words. Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I probably think a little bit differently to Councillor Sinclair, and the fact that I think it'd be a great idea to introduce this parking around there, because it is quite congested around there at times. I'm a bit the same as him. Go out around there occasionally to see your grandchildren play, and it can get very, very congested with traffic around there. But I suppose my question is, has the manager got any ideas about funding to put this in or not?
Thank you. I'll go to the engineer. Like, what actual dollars are we looking at? It's understood that what we're talking, the 12,000, Madam Director of Admin and Finance.
No, 6,250 at the bottom of that report, at the bottom of that table there, Mr Mayor.
All right. I thought you mentioned that there was.
Yeah, I had miscalculated. I'd included that 6,250.
No,
yeah,
that's all
previously.
right.
I just noticed. Yeah.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah,
the engineer.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. So there is really no funding for it at the moment, and I think the other thing to remember is that once they're there, you've sort of got to look after them.
That's right.
There's a cost. I'm quite neutral on the idea, but happy to go with whatever council thinks. I probably do think we should be putting in disabled parking when there's junior sport. It's not only that side of the road that's full, it's the other side of the road and Grey Street, which can, if you were challenged for disabled parking, you could be walking up to 100 odd metres to get to the facility, and I think it's probably a good spot for it. But I'm, to be honest, happy to go with whatever council's views are.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I tend to agree with the Deputy Mayor. It's only on occasions that it gets busy. I do believe disabled parking should be made a priority over the other parking. After all, they're there for exercise, and I suppose if they've got to walk 100 metres or so to get to what they want to see and what they want to do, it's not that much of a deal. But I certainly agree with the disabled parking for sure. It's always awkward for those people, so that's what I would go with, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I too agree with the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Oliver that I don't see it as necessary. And of course, I live there. They sometimes, when they have big gala days, they can park right down Crowley Street, which is great. And I think it's one of these things, to be frank, that it'd be nice to have. But I do also support previous speakers in relation to the disabled parking as outlined on the map. I do also think it's disappointing that that whomever made the request, assuming that it was the user groups, that there's not even an offer to to contribute. So I was a bit disappointed about that too. But anyway, so councillors, what's your wish? Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that council look into putting in disabled parking signage and marking, but not go ahead with the rest of the marking.
So you say look into, or that we do? We carry out the works for...
Oh, well, we carry out the works, I guess, yes.
Righto. Thank you. We carry out the works for the 2 disabled parking spots as outlined on the diagram in yellow on page 184.
Yeah.
And further, we'll just leave it at that, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Or do you want to be more specific?
Well, I think we need to state also that we're not prepared to go ahead.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Thank you. And further that council decline the request to do the remainder of the marked car park. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Smith. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Further discussion. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We intending to do this in like ASAP, or are we going to put this to budget estimates for maybe next financial year?
Well, I understand you're only talking $388 is what I'm reading at Mr. Engineer. If we went ahead,
just the disabled parking, yeah.
It could be a little bit more on its own, but it's not significant, that's for sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just while we're talking about disabled parking and parking in general, is with the parking that's there, is there any access for an ambulance to actually get on to the field if need be, in case of, not that we hope it has to use, but with all the parking that does happen there at times, is it always something just, a space just available just for them to get into if need be, or any emergency vehicle?
Yeah, there is. If you looked at the picture right at the southern end of the page, you'll see a shade, a light post shade. There's an access way there. It's not really shown very well in this aerial photo with the seating, but that's where the access point is.
Right, thanks for that, Mr. Manager. It doesn't ever get blocked off with traffic, does it? Or parked cars, do you know?
Well, it appears to be blocked in this, but this aerial photo could be it could be in the summertime. Looks like it's in the summertime, actually. I suggest it's not blocked. Not that I've seen, but I wouldn't say that I've got a good knowledge of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. No further discussion. If not, I'm going to put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Nothing of an urgent late nature from the engineer?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Page 186, Environmental Services. There's nil to report.
Correct, Mr. Mayor.
Engineer, you're all clear? Sorry, Mr. Director, you're all clear?
No, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, let's go over to page 187. We go to the Administration and Finance Department report, and the Director, I defer to the Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just the stock take of stores and materials for the year. So an adjustment of $1,479.45. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillors, there's a recommendation there for you to consider unless there's an alternative. Councillor Oliver?
Yeah, I'll move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put them. Whoa. What's going on here? Right. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go to page 191, 13.2. Local Roads Community Infrastructure Fund, round 3. Where's she? Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just a list of projects that have been nominated for the Local Roads and Community Infrastructure Round 3 funding program. We need a council resolution to endorse those projects. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you. And councillors, well done to all of you and senior staff for giving up time to work through the workshop in relation to this. And I think that when you have a look at the projects there, I think you can all be very proud that it's, bulk of it obviously going through our road network, but also, various other funding allocations being put in throughout the Shire, which is great. Thank you. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to endorse projects and lead with them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So are you moving it, or?
Yes, yes, I'll move that way.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Judd, thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
You should be right.
No further discussion?
If I get to dig some holes, we might be
If
close.
not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 To the contrary, no.
Yeah, no
The
dramas.
motion carried. Thank you very, very much. Got into good habit, this current council, of spending a lot of money and unprecedented, and you've all done very well. Thank you. Anything of an urgent nature from the Director of Administration and Finance, please?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, let's go to page 193, correspondence, 14.1, Mary Gilmore Festival, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, as you can see, the Mary Gilmore Festival is scheduled for the 13th to 17th of October. I understand it's still going ahead at this stage, so they have requested information, as you can see there, for Council's consideration.
Thank you. I must say, Mr. General Manager, that and Council, I think it's, to be frank, I think it's great that you've still got community groups that are still working hard towards being optimistic and towards hosting community events. I think we've all got to have something to look forward to, and so I take my hat off to them and hope and pray it comes off. Councillor Judd, did you have any comments?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Committee is meeting in the first week in September. Make a decision. And I expect a decision to the council at the council festival, but that's still another week or more away. I can't see it happening, but whether we handle this application just in case, I'm not sure.
Thank you, Councillor Judd, for the update. I probably do need to have to deal with what's before us. So I think. Yeah, that's what we should be doing. Councillor Oliver?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we need to deal with this now, and if it does happen to be cancelled, there's no loss, but I think the boxes need to be ticked just in case some miracle may happen, but I'm happy to move the recommendation that, or perhaps word it so that if in the event it does take place, that everything's right to go, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, I think that we just deal with the application that's before us, and then whatever decision council made, just say if it's approval that we support, and then if the Mary Gilmore Festival Committee decide to postpone or cancel, then they'll write to council, and that will then of course negate the need for that resolution to be enacted.
Yep.
Thank you. So Councillor Slay has seconded Councillor Oliver's motion that we do proceed to the request of the Area Park Mary Gilmore Festival Committee as articulated on pages 193 and 194. Thank you. Moved to second and further discussion. Not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. No. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we now proceed over to page 196, Temora Show Society, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. In a very similar vein, the Show Society have deferred their show until the end of October, but from the 25th of September to end of October. Still probably very doubtful whether the show will go ahead, but at this stage it still is, so we consider it as the application as is.
Thank you very much. And it was, councillors, it was, for your information, very kind of the Show Society President, Narelle Pello, to invite the General Manager and I to come along on behalf of Council to their meeting to debate whether they should cancel, postpone, etc. Very large attendance, actually, and as the General Manager said, that they've postponed it until that, 28th of October or something like that. So, yes, that's at this stage. But we deal with what's before us. So, Councillor Smith.
I just like to declare an interest as a life member and a patron of the show.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Smith's interest is noted. Thank you very well. I'm a financial member and a sponsor as well, but non-pecuniary. Now, councillors, what is your wish? You see that at the 2019 show that we sponsored the speed shear to the value of $500. The request is for $1,000 to be the main sponsor for the Axeman's exhibition. I know we did sponsor them $1,000 in previous years, so I'm not quite sure what must have been looking at our budget at that time. I can't recall. Councillors? Councillor Carroll.
Can I move that we agree to their sponsorship of $1,000 for their Axeman's exhibition?
Thank you. Councillor McLaren, we'll accept that motion. Thank you. Second the motion. Councillor Slay, thank you. Moved. Seconded. Is there further discussion? Councillor Winky.
That would be on the condition that it does eventually go ahead. If not,
yes.
That money, is that correct?
Yeah, good point, Councillor Winky. So, Councillor McLaren and Councillor Slay, you're happy to just to add that subject to the show proceeding for this year. Councillor McLaren?
Yes, happy to do that.
Happy. Councillor Slay?
Yes.
Thank you. Very good. Moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillor, let's go to page 199, 14.3, Temora Christian Leaders, Combined Church Service, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As written, councillors, they wish to hold their annual combined church service on the 24th of October, obviously subject to allowance by the government under the COVID rules.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that way, Mr Mayor, that we see to their request.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion, Councillor. No. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillor, let's go to page 201, 14.4, Kidney Car Rally, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. That submission can be withdrawn, Mr Mayor, given that the rally is no longer going ahead.
Rightio, so that's deleted from the business paper. Thank you. Let's go over to page 203, 14.5, the Bettrick Hall Trust, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. As written, again, there were $200 development application fee for the UCamp proposal out there, and they've requested Council give consideration to waiving the development application fee.
Thank you. Councillors, what your wish? We sort of got in the habit of doing 50% in some cases, but trying to. But what's Council's the Councillor Smith?
Whatever we do, we probably should donate it back and not waive the fee.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Councillor McLaren.
Oh, just to comment that I think this is a great initiative of them to try and get on the UCamp, map. It's a very popular thing. It brings people to your region, camping, and I think it should be encouraged. So, if it's going to get it over the line, maybe we should defer it. But I'm not quite sure what their financial situation is.
Well, thank you, Councillor McLaren. My understanding is that they are very financial, and how I know that is being out there, I think recently with Councillor Oliver, and offering for our family where our Thurman family come from as well, and they were very proud of and so they should be, of the funds that they have raised and worked hard for, which they have. But I suppose my view is more of a principle that, I just don't think we can donate 100% of everything back all the time, that's all. But you're quite right about their initiative, Councillor McLaren, that, they're an outstanding hall committee. Councillor Oliver?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think we could, we've been donating half back. I think we continue to do that, and I'll move that we donate half of that development application fee back to the Bettrick Hall Recreation Committee, or whatever they're called. So that's right. I'll move that way. Trust, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Oliver. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? The Deputy Mayor, thank you. Move. Second. Further discussion? Not. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The motion carried. Thank you very much. We do have two items, councillors, that are deemed urgent and late, which 14.6 is St Anne's Central School, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you can see there, councillors, they're requesting under the guidelines for the Town Hall a waiving of 50% of the fees for the hire of the hall for their annual showcase.
I declare a non-pecuniary interest and submit with the board.
Sorry, Councillor Slay, we're struggling to hear you clearly.
I declare an interest as a member of the school council.
Thank you. That's better. Thank you, Councillor Slay. He's declared an interest in relation to his position on the school council. Thank you. Councillors, the Director of Administration and Finance.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just provide for your information. So the total hire cost that was quoted to St Anne's for the hire of the hall for their showcase event was $1,476.
Okay. So, yeah, so in future, normally that would be included on the report. Yeah. Thank you. So that would be 50% of that is what they're requesting. Donated back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, the Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that way, Mr Mayor.
So the Deputy Mayor is moving we donate 50% of the hire fees in relation to tomorrow Memorial Town Hall. Seconder, Councillor McLaren, thank you, moved. Seconded. Is there further discussion? Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, look, I'd just like to comment to say that it's very pleasing to see that the message is getting through about our 50% refund on fees. So I think that was really nice that they've indicated that into their letter. So, I'm happy to donate that. Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Winkie. That's a great point. It's I think the community, slowly but surely are obviously trying to help council, and yeah, you're quite right. It is nice to see. Is there further discussion? If not, I'll put Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm just wondering, they normally have this in September, don't they? September, October sometime? I'm just wondering
it's
whether
sort of varied a bit. But
do so. But anyway, we'll tick the boxes and see what happens. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I think it's great that the kids and families, friends, community can look forward to something. But anyway, we'll see. If there's no further discussion, we'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. I'll just go to the Executive Assistant, Mrs. Rands. How are you coping?
I'm good, Rick. I'm good, Rick.
That's all right. It's just that we're all learning new things, and we're just conscious of your role's different as well. So thank you for putting up with us thus far. Councillors, then we have the second late item of correspondence, 14.7, the Temora Senior Citizens Group, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a reduction that we give, or a donation we give back annually. It's in our management plan, or our operational plan, and that is a quarter of the rates. In this case, that equates to $460. The logic of the decision to give 25% back to these groups, particularly seniors groups and facilities that deal with seniors, is that 25% is the pension rebate amount, and the logic played through that should follow. So it has been our practice to do that. It is in our operational plan, and it's $460.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren. Councillor McLaren.
Move that way.
Thank you. Second to Councillor Smith. Thank you. Moved and second. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
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 Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much. Is there any other urgent late correspondence, please, Mr. General Manager?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 206. We go. We have received no notices of motion, and we go to business without notice. And let's go around the
table.
Let's go. Yes. So let's start up to my. I don't know what they're looking at, but my top left hand is Councillor Knight. Without notice.
No, nothing, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Reinhold. I now go to the Deputy Mayor.
I've got nothing.
Nothing, thank you. I go now to Councillor Smith.
All's good with me, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, for coming in as well. And Councillor Smith, I know we've said it at committee day, but I want to formally do it today, this evening at our council meeting, our historic one, and that is to warmly congratulate you on your recent presentation of life membership to the Canassist Temora branch. You have been a long-serving president, committeeman and a voluntary worker there for an extended period. I know you share the award with your wife, Mrs. Claire Smith, but I think it's a significant honour, not one given lightly, particularly when the state governing body of Canassist, their board, have to approve that as well as your own members. So it's something to be proud of. You've earned it, and we warmly congratulate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Rick. There's a lot more people deserving than I am.
We knew you'd say that, but at the end of the day, it's your turn, and we couldn't be happier for you and for Mrs. Smith as well. So thank you. I now go down the second row, Councillor Oliver.
No, Mr. Mayor, nothing to report except to say that this meeting's going a little bit better than I thought it might have done. So
don't speak too soon. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I must agree with you, but we'll get to the finish line. We would never want to replace face-to-face, but anyway.
No.
I think as Councillor Winky said in his opening prayer, that we are blessed to have technology that the show goes on under these extraordinary circumstances. So thanks, Councillor Oliver. I now go to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really just a note to thank the roadwork team for the great job on that upgrade north of Barmedman on the Goldfields Way. I know it took a long time, a lot of wet weather issues, but it's all sealed, and I drove it on the other day, and it's absolutely magnificent.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor McLaren. We love to hear the positive stuff today more than ever. So thank you. Councillor Judd.
Just had one question asking the General Manager or Director, how are we up to with the round 4 of the New South Wales Stronger Countries Communities funding, the projects we allocated?
Thank you. Councillor Judd. The General Manager.
I can't answer that, Mr. Mayor. What about the Director Administration? Do you know?
Administration Finance Director, are you aware if we can take it on notice? Sorry, I can't hear you, Madam Director.
Sorry, no, not off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so can we take that on notice, please? And
we will, and I'll let them know tomorrow.
Oh,
thank you very much. The Director?
I've just found an email from the Town Planner. There have been no announcements about successful projects, not expected until sometime in September. And Council will be expected to sign contracts in October, so probably another couple of weeks by the sounds of that.
So that's Stronger Country Communities,
take a long time.
Yep, round 4, yes, that's right.
Oh, right. Thank you. Councillor Judd?
Yeah, it just seemed to be, we dealt with it some months ago and just wonder what happened to it.
Yeah, no, good point. All this money, honestly, can lose track, but thank you. The General Manager Director will take that on notice.
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. Let's now go to Councillor Slay.
No reports, thanks, Mayor.
You're happy?
Very happy. This should be my last.
True. You've got me there. Thanks, Councillor Slay. Let's go to Councillor Winky.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but nothing to report. Thank you.
Nothing. Thank you. Right. So that's. I just or part of the one that I was going to raise has been answered just in relation to the community surveys. And we've had, what we have, there's been several that have come in, Mr. General Manager, to date.
I don't know the actual number, Mr. Mayor. There's been quite a few come in paper form. I'm unaware of how many have actually came in via the online survey. I can check that out though.
Oh, that's fine. I just thought I'd be curious, and if we can continue to plug it in our local paper and the social media platforms, that would be great. Because I think last time, Mr. General Manager, we had over 300 respond, which was very, very good.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you for that. And the last one that I had was to extend a warm thank you to all of council staff for the manner in which we're handling all the workload that is thrust upon you through the generous state and federal government grants, coupled with council's own work schedule, but also with the COVID situation and the lockdowns. It's been unprecedented times, both in very positive ways, but also in some frustrating ways. But we're just, councillors and I are deeply grateful, and I know our community are too, for the manner in which the General Manager, Directors, Managers and all indoor and outdoor staff are conducting themselves. We're very grateful, and I'd like that passed on, Mr. General Manager, please, if you would.
Can certainly do that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, if there's no further general business, is someone prepared to move the information paper, please, that is on from 207. Councillor Winkie, thank you. Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, any items out of the information paper that you'd like to raise? Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On page 252, just from the minutes of the Imagine Temora meeting, I notice in their business arising they talk about the council hire fees for the town hall for community groups and not-for-profit groups, and their concern about it being unfair to charge the same rates as a business commercial enterprise are charged compared to volunteers who contribute their time to put on community events for entertainment and those sorts of events. And I just wondered whether this is worth addressing, because I know we used to have a lot of piano performances, or the Wongs used to come, and various community groups that are put on by volunteers that give up their time to create these entertainment for the community, basically. And I'm just worried that the fees might start to discourage those sorts of activities, and we'll be all the more poorer for it. And I just wondered whether there was some way that the Imagine committee could endorse certain activities throughout a year to maybe fund with the Imagine budget to waive that 50% fee, or just some way to address this so that we're not losing out by activities not being put on and not enriching our residents through those offerings.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. I understood, Mr. General Manager, that those issues would be teased out at the workshop, Nation Management Plan.
The workshop to do with the arts precinct?
Yeah.
You're talking about? Probably not. I see it's a different matter, but can I just say I saw that in the minutes, and I was awaiting a letter from Imagine Temora, because the way it is at the moment is that everyone gets charged the same, but community groups get a discount. The way that reads is they think that the business groups get a discount as well, which they don't.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. You are quite right. Sorry, yeah, this is for the town hall, so you're quite right. So, Councillor McLaren, do you have a response to the general manager?
I still think that there is an issue of the quantity that might be, if you're using it for a couple of nights for a performance or something, or you want to attract somebody to town to play, often the donations at the door, they just give to the performer and say, here you go, and to give the performer some sort of costs to cover their costs for coming to Temora.
Thank you, councillors and members of senior staff. We resume into open council. I advise the meeting that council have resolved and adopted the following motions, and they have been being brought forward from closed session into open council, and will require a motion to formally adopt them. And those motions are the following. The motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Oliver, council moved into confidential at 6:28 p.m. and the motion was carried. Minutes of the Confidential Economic Development Visitations Committee, the 10th of August 2021. The motion of Councillor Oliver and Councillor McLaren, it was resolved that the reports be received and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Slay and seconded Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that the reports and the recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion was carried. Minutes of the Confidential Assets and Operations Committee held on the 10th of August 2021. Motion of Councillor Winkie and Councillor Smith, it was resolved that the reports be received and the motion was carried. The motion of Councillor McLaren and Councillor Reinhold, it was resolved that the sewer policy consideration be amended to the committee recommend council to endorse the principle of the reported sewer framework, allowing council staff to begin working to refine details around implementation, aiming for 1st of July 2022 with the report to come back to council. It was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion was carried. Motion of Councillor McLaren and Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that report 4.1 Bulkhead Road be deferred for consideration with the Manager of Engineering Services late report. The motion was carried. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that the remainder of the reports as presented be adopted and carried. Minutes of the Confidential Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre Partnership Committee held on the 10th of August 2021. The motion of Councillor Winkie and Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that the reports be received and the motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Winkie and Councillor Judd, it was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion was carried. Mayoral Minute, General Manager's Performance Review for the period ending 30th of June 2021. On the motion of Councillor Furman and Councillor Smith, it was resolved that the report be referred to the September meeting of Council for discussion. The motion was carried. Developer Infrastructure Deferred Payment, Dustin Rose Estate. The motion of Councillor Judd and Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that Council provide support for the Dustin Rose Estate under the Developer Infrastructure Deferred Payment Policy to the value outlined in Scenario 1 of the report, to be funded through a combination of unspent loan funds, sewerage reserves and unrestricted funds, and further, that costs associated with the upgrade of internal drainage required to accommodate stormwater generated external to the subdivision be delivered at Council's cost up to the agreed value. The motion was carried. Bulkhead Road Compulsory Acquisition Crown Lands Correspondence. On the motion of Councillor Smith and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that Council withdraw from the compensation offer and proceed with the acquisition process through the Crown Lands Department. That motion was carried. COVID injections. On the motion of Councillor Winkie and Councillor Slay, it was resolved that Temora Shire Council make approaches to the Murrumbidgee Local Health District with the view to have pop-up COVID vaccine clinics to boost injection rates within the Shire, and the motion was carried. The motion of Councillor Smith and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that Council moves the motions from closed business into open council. That motion was carried. On the motion of Councillor Slay and Councillor Winky, it was resolved that Council moves out of closed council at 8:12 p.m. and into open council, and that motion was carried. So, councillors, if I could please have a motion to formally adopt those resolutions. Thank you, Councillor Slade. The Deputy Mayor moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, there being no further business for this historical meeting of Temora Shire Council, I do thank you very, very much for your perseverance, for your patience, and for your contributions, and I declare the meeting closed.